There's a campaign structure shift happening right now on Meta that is quietly printing millions of dollars for people using it, and almost nobody is talking about it. And yeah, I'm talking about Andromeda, but not in the way that you think, because everybody has talked about the creative side 100 times. But what nobody is telling you is that if your campaign structure hasn't changed in the last 6 months, it's genuinely ruining your ads right now, and you probably have no idea. My name is Christian Jamal, and I built profitable ad campaigns at scale, and I completely abandoned the campaign structure that I ran for years because of what Andromeda is quietly doing inside your ad account that is costing you every time your campaign enters the auction. There are 3 structural mistakes, and fixing them is so embarrassingly simple that you could rebuild your entire campaign setup before this video is even over. Now, if you've been living under a rock and still don't know what Andromeda is about, here's a quick recap. Your creative is doing the targeting work now, instead of your campaign settings. And Meta reads the actual content of your ad and decides who sees it. But what that actually means for how you set up your campaigns is where most people completely drop the ball. Which brings me to the first mistake. And honestly, you guys, this is the most common one I see when I open someone's ad account. There are too many campaigns running at the same time with different targeting on each one. And to be honest, I get it, because this used to be the right move. I personally used to do this. So if I open a random business owner's ad account right now, I'll most likely see a broad campaign, a lookalike campaign, maybe an interest-based campaign, and then there's a retargeting campaign sitting on top of all of that. And inside each one, you've got their ad sets split up by creative type or budget. That makes sense because they're testing different targeting strategies across different campaigns to see which one converts best, and then they scale the winners. I used to run this exact same setup because it worked really well for a very long time. And that's what makes this so expensive, because people aren't doing anything wrong on purpose. They're running a playbook that made sense before Andromeda, and they think that they've adapted because they heard the creative side, but they're missing the structural piece entirely. Think about it like this. With Andromeda, when you split your budget across multiple campaigns, each one only gets a fraction of the total data to learn from. And Andromeda needs data to work. The more data you feed it in one place, the faster it optimizes and the cheaper your results get. So when you spread that data thin across 4 or 5 campaigns, each one is learning slowly, making decisions on limited information, and often competing against your own other campaigns for the exact same people. You're literally bidding against yourself in Meta's auction without even realizing it. It doesn't make any sense at all. So what we do instead is consolidate everything into one campaign with one ad set, so all your budget is feeding into the algorithm in one place. And I know that feels counterintuitive, because you're used to testing audiences against each other, but that's exactly what your creative is already doing for you now, which is actually the second mistake that I keep saying. Most people are still manually defining their target when their creative should be handling it entirely. And I get that this one is a hard mental shift, because we've all spent years learning how to build the perfect lookalike or the perfect interest stack. But with Andromeda, when you tell Meta to only show your ads to a specific audience, you're actually putting the algorithm itself in a box, because Meta is already reading the content of your ad and matching it to users based on behavioral signals you don't even have access to. Like a video showing a dog training transformation is naturally going to attract dog owners. A static image with a roofing offer is naturally going to pull in homeowners. Meta picks up on what each creative resonates with and automatically pushes it to more of those people without you having to tell it anything. So instead of you manually picking audiences, you just go broad and let the creative handle the rest. And when you do this, your cost per leads starts dropping because Meta is finding people you never would have targeted yourself. People who don't necessarily fit neatly into the interest category, but who are genuinely ready to buy. And that's the audience that you've been missing the entire time. So once you see it working in your own account, you guys will never go back to building interest stacks again. Now, even if you nail the first 2, there's a third mistake that still tanks your results. And this one catches even the business owners who think that they're fully up to date with the latest Meta updates. And before I tell you what it is, if you guys want to see exactly how to set up this campaign structure from scratch, build the creatives, pick the angle, and connect everything to a funnel that actually converts, it's all inside my free course, Click to Client, that I'll leave a link down below in the description. Now, this third mistake comes down to how many creatives you're actually running inside one ad set. And keep in mind that I know I just told you guys to simplify your structure down to one ad set, but this is where you go to the opposite direction, because you want your structure as tight as possible and your creative volume as high as possible. That's the trade-off. See, most people hear one campaign, one ad set, and they throw in like 3 or 4 creatives and they call it a day. But that's actually nowhere near enough for Meta to work with. The algorithm needs a variety to figure out who responds to what. And this is the part that most people completely miss even after they've already made the switch, because they simplified the structure but forgot to actually fill it with enough creatives for the algorithm to learn from. What we're pushing right now is anywhere between 25 to 50 creatives inside that single ad set. And the reason for that number is how Meta's auction actually works. Every time your ad enters an auction, Meta is deciding which creative is the best fit for that specific person in that specific moment. So if you only have like 3 options in there, that's all that Meta can actually choose from. But if you have 30, it can match the right ad to the right person way more precisely, which means better performance across the board. And before you guys panic about creating that many ads, this is way easier than it actually sounds. You start with 5 completely different angles, and I mean genuinely different approaches to the product or service. So for a dog trainer, one angle could be before and after transformation. Another could potentially be the embarrassment of your dog going crazy at a dinner party. Another one could be about how most dogs aren't actually bad. Another one could just be they just have owners who don't know how to communicate with them. So each one taps into a completely different emotion and a completely different reason for why someone would stop scrolling. And once you have your 5 angles, you record each one. And then for each angle, you create about 5 different variations. This is where it gets super easy because Meta's system identifies each creative pixel by pixel. So even small changes register as a completely new ad. You take one video and add background music, and Meta now sees that as a completely separate ad. Remove the music from the same video, and that's another one. Cut a couple seconds off the beginning, or maybe turn it to a static image with text overlay, and now you've got even 2 more variations without having to film anything new. 5 angles times 5 variations, that gives you 25 ads. And you only have to actually film 5 things to get there. And on top of the volume, you want to have format diversification. Not all videos or all images. You need to mix and match. You want a mix of static ads, carousels, and video ads all running together inside that one ad set. Because different people consume content differently. And some people will stop for a bold image that they would have scrolled right past as a video, and vice versa. When you give Meta every format to work with, you're covering every type of scroll behavior instead of betting everything on one format and hoping that it lands. Now, once all of this is running, the way you optimize changes too. The old structure, you'd compare campaigns, see which targeting has a winner, and then shut off what's not working. You don't actually have to do that anymore because there's only one ad set. So now what you're watching is which creative is performing and which one is not. Meta will naturally push the winners harder and spend less on the ones that aren't getting traction. So your job really is to cut the underperformers and replace them with new variation. And that's pretty much the whole optimization loop now. You're optimizing creative instead of audiences, and the nice part about this is that it's completely in your control. You can always film new angles or make a quick variation whenever you need to. And that cycle of adding and cutting is what keeps the whole machine running month after month. And if your creative is already good, but your results still aren't where they should be, there's a strong chance the issue isn't your creative at all, but the structure that's sitting inside. Because just like putting premium gas in a car with a clogged fuel line won't make it run faster, even amazing ads will underperform when the algorithm doesn't have enough data or enough variety to do its job. That's why you should always fix the structure first. Because once the algorithm has what it needs, you guys might genuinely be shocked at how much money your existing creative was capable of printing this entire time. Now, we talked about consolidating everything into one campaign with one ad set, but there's a specific way you need to set up Advantage Plus for this to actually work. And most people don't even know about it. I walked through the entire setup step by step in this video right here, so you can have the whole thing built and running before the end of the day. So check out the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.